I tried to think of like a Star Wars like name to call you. I just can't think of one.
ZB1 Kenobi. I won't take that.
Because it's so. I could do like Z1B1 and then have you talk like this. Hello, welcome to Red Light Homies or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
I said I would stop cursing. Are you gonna stop? It's been 2 weeks.
Look, I forgot, if we're being honest.
It's been 2 weeks.
It's been 2 weeks.
No, but the Star Wars names are weird because you have Obi-Wan Kenobi, but then you might just have a guy named Steve. There's a guy named Dexter.
There's some simple names. I remember that at least.
There's regular. So we're just gonna call you like I almost said Zeotron. What fucking is this? Autobots? Is this Transformers?
Yeah.
Z.
Jack, what's up?
I got a little would you rather to warm us up a little bit.
All right, what we got?
Are you familiar with Jar Jar Binks?
Yes.
And obviously you're familiar with Yoda.
Mm-hmm.
Would you rather, for the rest of your life, have to speak in the language of the Gungans, which is Jar Jar, or speak in the language of Yoda? Now, quickly for everybody, so I could flex a little nerd a little bit. The reason I say Yoda and not his species, they don't know his species. George kind of skipped out on that department. You look up Yoda's species, everybody's like, I don't know. He lives a long time. So, and the reason like I want to specify species, and I'm sorry, whatever, is because like I don't want you talking like Jar Jar Binks. I want you to have the cadence
Jar Jar.
And the language,
Say Jar Jar Binks is, English pronunciation of words, not that, but like his native language.
So you wouldn't talk like, you wouldn't talk like that.
Yeah.
It'd be your normal voice of like, you so happy today. You know what I mean? So, talk like that or talk like Yoda?
I think I would rather talk like Yoda, for being honest.
Why?
Because, I mean, Yoda is like the OG aura farmer. Like, brother's just like, pass, you shall not.
Ow.
I don't like the look on your face.
No, you know what's insane is you're the one that bitches the most about brain rot and social media.
I don't bitch the most about that. Don't try
to
that.
Go through. I just want someone to go through the podcast and pick out the points in which brain rot shit has been brought to this podcast.
And it's probably been me. I'll take it.
And it's been you. Unironically, that was an unironic statement by you.
I mean, it is what it is. I'll take it.
No, I feel like Yoda is much more impractical when it comes to the way he talks. Like, yeah, it would be annoying to be like, Misa, so happy to see you, you know?
Yeah.
But would that be more annoying than like, hey, do you want to go to the store? Go to store. I must not. Why are you talking like that?
I would love to do
Stop.
that. I would love to do that.
Why?
Just because. I already like reference shit in my daily life. Why would I not do that?
Okay, let's take this to the bedroom.
Okay.
Would you rather like Misa very happy to seize you, or fucking Dick, you must suck now? Like, you know?
The second one, because if me so happy to see you, that's just a turnoff. It's just like, is this dude actually like straight?
And talking backwards in Mexican? What? Dude, I tried to say like messed up or mixed up to avoid saying fuck, and it just came out Mexican.
Aye, brother.
But talking confusing, mixed up, backwards sentences is better than just having a lisp? What are you talking about?
I don't know if it's more the lisp rather than the... I don't know how to describe this. It's not like a gait, because that's your style of walking, but your style of talking. It's just kind of...
Cadence?
Yeah, cadence, yeah. It's just like, I would rather talk backwards and mixed up than Jar Jar Binks' cadence.
Okay, so you're basically telling me that it's harder to make a Gungan language sexy
Yes.
than it is to make a Yoda language sexy.
Yes.
I don't know about that.
I would say that.
I don't know about that. Misa, go. Oh, come here, sir. Yes.
Anytime I hear that, I'd want to laugh.
Yeah, and every time you hear someone speaking Yoda or Grogu, whichever one you want to pick, you're just going to be like, what are you talking about? Please talk to me normally instead of a guy with a lisp.
I would much rather a lisp than Gungan language.
I'm just saying. I think that talking in the Gungan language or with the Gungan cadence, because you wouldn't be talking in the actual language, the accent, if you want to say, I think it's better to be heard properly, because, like we say, it's hard to understand Jar Jar just because he's hyper and stupid and high pitched. Okay, but just talking in that accent it's better to be it's better to be understood clearly than have someone go, okay. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, I could probably agree, but I still wouldn't like it. Which is why I would rather speak like Yoda. That's just my. I would rather not have the hyperactive, high pitched. Seems like a lot of S's is what he uses in his language. Than talking backwards. Talking backwards is at least easy to understand at some way.
At your peak fandom, how big of a Star Wars fan were you?
Not huge. I mean, I went to like Disney World and got like a lightsaber at like late high school, but like before that, it was more so I just wanted to watch every movie that came out, and that was about it.
When we went to Disney World, that was what we wanted to do, but we did the lightsabers last.
We did as well.
Because we knew we were going to break them, smacking the shit out of each other.
I mean, those shits were $70 at the least, so.
Yeah. And now I'm a little upset because I think it's the one in California. There's a place called Galaxy's Edge where they have a whole thing where you get to pick the kyber crystal, assemble the lightsaber, and you get to like light it. And there's like a big speech and music. And I'm a 25-year-old man who will probably be in tears if that ever happens.
I mean, we went to Florida, and I think, let's see, I remember we put together the lightsabers. I think we also maybe picked out a kyber crystal. I can't exactly remember if we did that or not.
No. Those ones, you pick out the little folded up blade, and you pick out which color, and you put it at the tip of the hilt, and whatever.
You could also pick out which hilt you wanted. I think mine had the things off the side.
What kind did you make? Did you just make a single?
Yeah, I just made a single like green lightsaber.
Yeah, I forgot what color I picked. I think it was green, just because green is my favorite color.
Yeah.
I don't. I put it at my dad's, and they moved, and it's probably in a box somewhere. But I wanted a double-bladed one, but it cost more.
Yeah, I think the double-bladed one's like $150 in Florida, so it was ridiculous. I was like, I'll just spend $70.
Yeah, but now when I played Jedi Survivor, I played with the crossguard, which is Kylo Ren, his stance, and his version of the lightsaber that has the two little vents where whatever comes out.
Yeah.
And I know there's a whole lore thing behind it. If you want to know it, I'll tell you it. But that stance of just heavy swinging and the longer blade, and God, I love that.
Like a great
I want
sword.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be nice.
And I know apparently there is a side of the Star Wars fandom that hates people who like that. Because Kylo Ren, the reason that lightsaber is like that is because he fucked up when he bled his kyber crystal. First of all, do you know what bleeding kyber crystal is?
No.
Okay, so when a Jedi gets of age to get their lightsaber, I don't know the exact ritual, but they go to this cave on a certain planet.
Yeah.
And that planet is where kyber crystals are. I think like You can find kyber crystals in a lot of different places, but the Jedi use this specific area.
Yeah.
And a kyber crystal, it will turn the color that basically matches you, matches your personality, matches your beliefs, and all that.
I remember reading all of that, the different colors and what they mean and stuff.
It's ridiculous that all that came from Samuel L. Jackson saying, I kind of want a purple one. And George was like, all right. Like,
I mean, hey, retroactive
like,
storytelling, you know?
Yeah, the future people are like, I guess we got to explain this away. So, like, it's cool. Like, that is one of the changes of the overall Star Wars lore that I welcome. I think that's really cool than just like, well, some good guys have green and some have blue, and then it's red for... Back to the original thing. Bleeding a kyber crystal is what happens when a Jedi becomes a Sith. Mm-hmm. And it basically, you fill the kyber crystal with rage and pain and anger, and the kyber crystal turns red in like a massive poof, and whatever. Kylo Ren didn't do it properly, so his broke. And you can't just go get one. So he had to get those vents because the kyber crystal was putting out too much energy that it couldn't be contained in a single blade. So it had to have the vents to... That's why when you go back and watch like the prequels or even the sequels and you hear like Rey ignite her lightsaber, it's very like crisp, clean.
Yeah.
When Kylo Ren ignites his, it's a badass sound. And I'm glad but it has the normal sound, but you hear like cracking and like...
Yeah, I remember that.
Like an overpowered generator kind of electricity pouring out of it. It sounds fucking sick, dude.
So they're mad that he fucked up and made his kyber crystal stronger is what it sounds like.
Yeah, well,
he took away the energy regulation function of it is what it seems. But it seems like it was for the best for him, at least.
It was...
Or he turned it into something he could use.
They're mad when you say he's a Sith. Because apparently Kylo Ren is not a Sith. Because of the technicality that he broke his kyber crystal and he didn't do it properly. That's why he doesn't have Darth next to his name.
Okay, but like, what is he then?
Dork. He's like basically a hyped up Inquisitor. Do you know what an Inquisitor is?
Yes.
Yeah, he's a hyped up Inquisitor. He's not technically a Sith, but he is a Force user that bled his kyber crystal and now is whatever. At the end of the day, if someone watched the sequel and said, Kylo Ren is probably my favorite Sith, I wouldn't be like, you know what? Because I'm not that fucking Star Wars dweeb.
I feel like I would have called him a Sith if I like rewatched the movie and seen like any of that.
Oh yeah, I just recently found out this.
Don't
Wrong
die
pipe.
on me, brother.
Wrong pipe. The sequels, honestly, The Force Awakens, people hate it a lot just because it's in the sequel trilogy. The Force Awakens is a fun movie. It's the next two that suck. It's the next two that are bad.
It's the first one of the three. Fun. The next two, might as well just throw them away.
Yeah. And even I knew a guy in high school that was a Star Wars nerd. I've said this on this podcast before, and I've said this in TikToks or whatever. This guy asked me, "Oh, you're a Star Wars fan?" Because I was like drawing something or I was reading something or whatever. Mm-hmm. I was like, "Yeah, I'm a Star Wars fan." And he said, "What's the standard issue blaster for a stormtrooper when the Empire first came to power?" And you know what? I almost bashed his head in with the keyboard. You're a loser.
I would have. Don't gatekeep Star Wars like that. That is the dumbest, most nerd shit I have ever seen.
It's why I love Star Wars, but I stay off of the talking about it for the most part because the fandom is so ridiculous. It is top 3 most ridiculous fandoms in existence, dude.
Sounds like it.
And there, like I said, there will people that will legitimately get mad that you consider Kylo Ren a Sith. Hey, casual fans and even fans who don't know exactly who Kylo Ren is going to call him a Sith. Why? Dark side Force user, red lightsaber, dresses like a Sith. Like,
yeah. I wouldn't be able to tell you any issue blaster during any point in time of the Star Wars, universe. I
can't even tell you Han Solo's, and that's the most popular because I don't care. I don't care. I'm a Star Wars fan. I try to play every game that comes out. I've read a lot of the books. I've watched a lot of the shows, and I've watched every Star Wars movie. Mm-hmm. I don't care about the specific blaster name that Han Solo carries around.
I've played
Chewie's got a
crossbow.
That's what I know.
But that's about all I remember.
No, it's ridiculous. But the sequel trilogy really, The Force Awakens set up so much interesting stuff, and the next 2 movies were just plagued, and a lot of people say it was Disney. Partially, and that's only because they got 2 different directors, where the director of The Last Jedi just went back and ignored a lot of the stuff that J.J. Abrams did. I don't know the director of The Last Jedi. I don't care enough. J.J. Abrams came back for The Rise of Skywalker and said, no, I'm going to do all of my stuff that I wanted to do. So fuck everything he did. And it clashed and it made ridiculous shit. And my favorite clip, dude. Have you seen all the movies?
Yeah, I believe so.
Do you remember that Palpatine returns in The Rise of Skywalker?
No.
Yeah, he comes back, and when it's revealed that he came back, is Poe Dameron looking at...
Sorry.
Dude, you don't have to. He stands in the room of the rebellion or whoever is fighting the First Order, and he legitimately... Watch this scene. Oscar Isaac is so upset that he has to say this. He says, somehow Palpatine returned. Somehow Palpatine returned.
I remember Palpatine being dead, right? That was before he, I guess, returned.
Vader tossed his old ass down a shaft and it exploded. So you presumed he was dead. But no, apparently he was chilling on this one planet, building up thousands of Star Destroyers, apparently.
With what money?
With what? That's exactly.
With what resources?
And who's going to... And the First Order knew nothing about this, by the way. They didn't know that Palpatine was chilling there.
With
and also,
thousands of Star Destroyers?
And also, in The Last Jedi, you learn that Rey... So... In the sequel trilogy, I know I'm being everywhere. In the sequel trilogy, the prequel sets up Rey. You don't know her parents. They dropped her off on, it's not Tatooine. I call it Tatooine. I know it's not Tatooine. It looks like Tatooine. It's not Tatooine though. They drop her off, leave her ass, and she gets called by Anakin's lightsaber. So you're like, oh, is she a Skywalker? Right?
Yeah.
And there was theories that maybe she was the daughter of Leia and Han Solo. Maybe she was related to Obi-Wan Kenobi. Everybody was theorizing. And in the
a big theory about that.
Yeah, and in The Last Jedi, Kylo's like, no, your parents were deadbeat spice traders that just left you. And everybody was like...
What a letdown.
And I wouldn't be as mad at that. Because maybe like the lightsaber was just calling to her and that was the Force using the lightsaber. I can explain that away. But then in Rise of Skywalker, you learn that she's Palpatine's granddaughter. What? Huh? Palpatine was fucking?
Right? Palpatine was pulling? Wait, I don't think he would have had to.
Not only was Palpatine fucking in his like 90s, but he had a secret child who then
Who had a secret child who grew up with nothing and became a spice trader who then found, his wife and had them or her wife.
And then at the end of the movie, after barely knowing Luke Skywalker, she names herself Skywalker. And it just like, I hated it. It was the first time.
I think that movie, when it was coming out, I remember seeing it and was like, oh, so she is a Skywalker. So she's related to them somehow. And I don't think I actually ended up watching the movie. But that just sounds like a dumb plot line, for being honest.
And then I think we talked about this before. I hate forced love storylines. And in The Rise of Skywalker, in The Last Jedi, Kylo wants Rey to join him. Kylo wants Rey to be his queen, or not his queen, just join him.
Mm-hmm.
But in the Rise of Skywalker, now he's like, I love you. I love you. No. No. Stop it.
I remember in Force Awakens that they were getting together, or they seemed like they were, and I was like, don't make that happen.
And the way they did Finn, my guy, the way they did Finn, it's racist.
Yeah.
You could have had the movie surrounding a woman Jedi and a black Jedi, but I feel like Disney was going to be like, that's a little too woke. That's a little too woke, even for us, even for Disney. We can't do that. So you know what? In the second movie, let's just put him to the side.
Didn't Finn? Spoiler alert. Wasn't Finn one of the clones?
Yeah,
that's what I thought. Okay.
Well, he wasn't a clone. He was a stormtrooper. He was a first order stormtrooper, and the way the Force Order got stormtroopers was they went to villages, got kids from like when they were toddlers, trained them up to be a stormtrooper. Mm-hmm. And his name wasn't even Finn. It was F1 something.
Yeah.
Yada, yada, yada. But yeah, and he got involved, or he was a part of the massacre of the village Poe Dameron was at, and he refused to pull the trigger. And I don't know if that was like his first mission or whatever, but when he saw that they gave the order to just murk the entire village, he was like, this is wrong. I shouldn't be doing this. So he helped Poe escape, and that's basically how he got with the rebellion. But the first thing you see in the teaser trailer is Finn coming up and being like, it's so hot, because he's on, Tatooine, but not Tatooine.
Yeah.
And we talked about in an earlier podcast or a previous one about how the China posters for The Force Awakens shrink his ass down to almost nothing, because Chinese people don't like black people. I'm just going to stand on that.
Yeah.
We're going to let that marinate. All Chinese people don't like black people.
I don't know if that's a generalized statement we should make. But...
all Asian people don't like black.
So you're just getting more general.
But dude, that would have been so interesting to go from a stormtrooper to a Jedi. And they just said, you know what? No.
I thought that's what would have happened, because admittedly, I thought Finn was like the main character of Force Awakens before like watching it and seeing Rey, and was like, okay. But I thought there would have been more with him, considering how big a role he had. I guess I was wrong about that.
When I'm going to watch The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker again, I think there's a lot of interesting things in all three movies, but I think just the last two suck. They're annoying. Leia gets shoved out a window and pushed hundreds of yards into space, and she just floats back like it was nothing. And that point, and the point to where Snoke is like the emperor of the First Order, and he gets killed within 5 minutes of you seeing him, By not even I don't know if it was Kylo or Rey, but they just slowly twisted the lightsaber that was next to him while he was monologuing. Got to take a message from Syndrome. You sly dog. You got me monologuing. He was monologuing, and they slowly twisted a lightsaber like this all-powerful being can't sense that and stabs him through the gut and kills him. And I swear to you, when I watched that, my family was concerned because I was like,
it's like you're telling me you didn't see that?
yeah, and this big Snoke being the big bad guy who trained Kylo Ren and is supposed to be the emperor of this gets killed within 5. What?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm saying all this because when the prequels came out, people hated them. And it took, honestly, the Clone Wars cartoon, which you might have seen.
I believe I have, yeah.
It took that for people to appreciate the prequels, and also the kids who were kids during that era of Star Wars to grow up. And now the prequels are seen as good movies.
Mm-hmm. Now, didn't the Clone Wars like tie in something in between the movies?
The Clone Wars series takes place between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah. Okay.
And it flushes out Anakin's turn to the dark side. It flushes out his relationship with Obi-Wan and flushes out Anakin's relationship with Obi-Wan. It gives us one of the greatest characters in Star Wars in Ahsoka Tano. So, like, it does a lot. What's so funny about that?
I remember seeing a Reddit thread, and she was a good friend. And it was,
oh my God, that AI voice.
I don't know if it was an AI voice, but I remember seeing it and was like, what the hell am I reading?
Yeah, so the Alec Guinness, who played Obi-Wan in the original trilogy, and we'll get into his monologue that references, but basically they kind of retcon Ahsoka into that monologue where he goes, Luke, did I ever tell you about Ahsoka Tano? She was the jailbait that Anakin started training. And he said, we told her there was no panties in space, so her orange... And I'm like, dude, when I listen to that, I'm like, it's funny.
It's funny, but like, Jesus Christ, dude.
But the Star Wars fan in me, especially how much I love Alec Guinness and that, it makes me go, stop.
It was
and
just
plus she's like
so
13 and she's 13 in season 1 of the show. So
that's
like
why they said jailbait.
I mean, that's jail though. That's not jailbait.
I mean, jailbait is to bait you into jail. So
I mean, do we know the laws of consent?
I'm not going to.
And what does it when it goes from planet to planet?
No,
you know what I mean.
We're going to stop this thought right here.
Listen,
no.
Let's have a quick conversation.
We had this conversation right before the pod about other things.
What?
How you were saying?
No.
And people who thought that way should straight up go to jail yes.
Okay, we gotta flesh that out.
Yeah.
So it doesn't look bad. Because you just made it sound like we were having like an hour-long chat about age of consent.
Fuck no.
Right before the pod. No. As a joke, it was sent in the Discord. Can you name these adult
mattress
film
actress
stars?
Yes.
Yeah. And I said, there were a couple on there, they were like, the petite dress.
They were appealing to a crowd that should not want to be appealed to or should not be appealed to.
I remember Dolly Little, and she was dressed in a white shirt and little pink skirt, pigtails, going, no. If you watch Dolly Little, you're a pedophile.
I think your specific words were, I think we need to see the history results of anybody who's ever searched up her name specifically.
Yes. And I'm not backing down from that. Absolutely.
Exactly.
That's weird, dog.
It is.
And I know the titles of her videos are insane.
I know
they're so... Oh my God.
It's ridiculous out here.
But back to Star Wars and Star Wars age of consent laws. I'm saying, like, from planet to planet.
That's not where I wanted to go back to with Star Wars.
But that I brought all that up because I hope that something can come out that justifies the sequel's existence.
I doubt it.
Because it's not impossible. It's much harder than the prequels. It's much harder, but it's not impossible because there is some stuff in there that you could do.
That you could do.
Now, Disney did give me my favorite Star Wars movie, and that's Rogue One. Have you seen Rogue One?
Yeah.
I love Rogue One. And I laughed because how much of that movie do you remember?
Not much.
Do you remember K2? K2SO?
No.
He's the robot.
I thought
The
BB-8
droid.
was the robot. Oh.
No, BB-8's the sequel trilogy. In Rogue One, it's that tall black robot that Cassian has.
Mm-hmm.
That is my lady's favorite Star Wars character, point blank period. And when we watched that movie together, I had already seen it several times. And you know what happens at the end. Everybody dies. And I didn't tell her. So she watched him die tragically, shot like 15 times by stormtroopers before shutting the door on Jyn and Cassian. And then she was like, well, that sucks, but at least I have the blind guy. And the next scene is him being shot down. And she still has not forgiven me or my grandfather for letting her just watch those movies and fawn over those characters.
You know, this reminds me of, Courtney in the Discord. I think it's her mom who was a big Foggy Nelson fan from Daredevil. And then she watched Born Again.
Damn.
It was like, how could you tell me, or not tell me this?
Yeah.
When I specifically asked, how was Foggy?
I've only spoiled one death for my lady, and that was because we were about to watch the episode, and I knew that it could potentially ruin the show, and the character dies a pretty brutal death. So I told her, and she was like, yeah, we're not going to watch it. And that's Joel in The Last of Us.
Oh, everybody had that issue because they, they played the game and before watching the movie, or didn't play the game before watching the show or movie.
Yeah. And he gets beaten to death. It's not, Oh, by the way, I brought up Rogue One. And yes, I like to act like shit doesn't stick with me, but it does. Okay. There was a comment when we talked about Creature Commando, and I said that unnecessary death is stupid. Mm-hmm. Every death in Creature Commando is stupid. It's stupid. It's useless. It's used to be like, oh my God, they died. It's cheap. Yeah. Okay. And there was a comment that was talking about not every character can live. Are you a baby? Not. My favorite Star Wars movie is Rogue One. Everybody dies.
I think the sentiment behind that message was not exactly that. But that person, actually, it could have been just that, actually. I can't try and speak for people who comment because they always say some ridiculous shit sometimes. So never mind.
I just that's annoying. If you can't differentiate between an annoying death, an annoying, useless, cheap death, and one that's impactful and realistic still, because that's realistic.
But it's realistic to its own universe, I guess.
Whatever. Well, that's enough with those. The prequels have my least favorite Star Wars movie of all time. That's Attack of the Clones. Attack of the Clones sucks. It's bad. I can't sit through it because the entire movie is made to sell you on Anakin and Padme's relationship, and George Lucas can't do dialogue. So now you're expecting him to do romantic dialogue. It's horrible. I'm sitting there like, Jesus Christ. And not only that, dude, Anakin tells Padme that he just slaughtered a village and emphasizes not just men, but the women. and the children.
I remember that scene, yeah.
And she doesn't go, maybe I shouldn't be with this guy. She's like, Anakin, it's okay. What do you mean it's okay?
It's that true Bonnie and Clyde type shit, you know what I'm saying?
But I have a soft spot for The Phantom Menace. And the Revenge of the Sith is actually a good movie. I like Revenge of the Sith.
Okay.
But Attack of the Clones, awful. Bad. But honestly, my biggest problem with the prequel trilogy harpens back to the monologue that Obi-Wan had in A New Hope. Do you at all know what I'm talking about?
Nope.
Do you remember the scene where Luke says, "How did my father die?"
Yeah.
You know what's great? I said that, and the way I said that reminded me of the Joker. My father, he was a Jedi. How did he die? Which is crazy because Mark Hamill becomes the Joker. Anyways, in that there's a specific line that Obi-Wan says, and that is, he was a good friend. And you referenced it with that AI-generated message. Except she was a good friend.
Yeah.
But he says he was a good friend in a very somber, way. And if you watch the prequel trilogy with the Clone Wars series, you can understand. Mm-hmm. But if you just watch the prequel trilogy, Obi-Wan would not say he was a good friend. Obi-Wan would say, "Oh my God, I was happy to finally get his whiny, arrogant, loser, simp ass off my back.
He had some character
Oh my
growth.
God. He killed children. I watched it. He was a good friend."
I mean, character growth can go a long way, just not when you don't know about it.
But it's like, I don't know if it's I have a specific attachment. Like that's the line that really gets me. Because being a good friend means a lot to me. Like if I was known as a shitty friend, that would suck. That'd be the one things that would really get to me. And I would really like step on the gas of being. And it's not so much like continuity. If you're a fan of Star Wars, you got to get used to shit not adding up. Like it just happens.
It just sounds like it did.
Yeah, you got to get used to. There's a lot of stuff between the prequel and sequel trilogy that even with the Clone Wars series and all the books, you still go, what?
Yeah, somehow Palpatine returns.
But that's why I took on the task of writing all this out. Okay.
Hell yeah.
I've had, for those of you in preparation, and the reason we did this is because for the last couple months, I've had in my head for years, but the last couple months, I've really thought about what I would do different in the prequel trilogy. And I know that sounds arrogant because I don't write movies. I've never written a movie. Mm-hmm. But it's not a high bar to clear when it's George Lucas. And people might say, what? But those people don't know Star Wars. George Lucas made the Star Wars universe, but it's filled with so many holes and so many and so many what that I don't want to say he got lucky. Because let me be honest, I told Z this, and I know I've been going on for a while, but I told Z this. Looking at the Star Wars movies as a whole, Rogue One and Empire Strikes Back are objectively great movies. Every other movie, some of them are okay. Revenge of the Sith, Return of the Jedi, The Force Awakens, New Hope, but Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones is horrible. Solo is forgettable. Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker suck. And A New Hope isn't a great movie. People might get mad at that. It's the first Star Wars movie. It's not a great movie. I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to stop,
It sounds like we're going to make some Star Wars fans very angry, at least the diehard ones, because once you get to a certain point, there's a you can do no wrong sort of level. that people tend to fall under sometimes.
Some of them. Now,
I've
how I'm
tried
going to
them.
do this, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
The Phantom Menace, I have the most content for when it comes to rewriting. And I'm not going to give every specific detail of every battle or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just going to give you the overall what I think should have happened. Okay?
Gotcha. Okay.
The first change I would make in the Phantom Menace, Anakin should not be a child. He should not be a child. It makes him and Padme's relationship weird because Padme is like 15 and he's 8 years old. That's weird. That's weird.
Yeah.
And also, the reason George Lucas did it was because he wanted to show the innocence. How could such an innocent child become Darth Vader, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in the movie, he has Mace Windu and Yoda questioning the darkness inside of him and the cloudy whatever. So, like, go all the way or don't go at all.
I think, well, they wanted to portray us seeing him as innocent, but them being like, well, actually, it's not everything's not as you see. There is darkness inside of this child or something like that. Like, I feel like that would have been the point.
See, which I wouldn't mind if you weren't supposed to, not like the Jedi in the prequels. They're not the good guys. You're not supposed to like them. So, like, why do you have the people that you're setting up as, like, you shouldn't really be on board with the Jedi of, like, no, trust them on Anakin, though. Like, you know what I mean?
Okay, I see, yeah.
And I think just, like, showing instead of, whatever, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, the Phantom Menace, it starts off with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon going to sort this Trade Federation deal out. Turns out they're, building an army or whatever, and they go to Naboo. They meet Jar Jar. I cut the Gungan stuff out. Jar Jar and the entire Gungan thing, gone. I don't even hate Jar Jar, but it's such an unnecessary thing. Whatever. And that final battle, I'll just state it now, that final battle between the Gungan army and the droid army of the Trade Federation, that is just the droid army versus the army of Naboo. There's no, like, come to, like, oh, we can all work together, the Naboo and the Gungan and whatever. We're just going to work. Who cares? Fuck the Gungans, okay? But all the political stuff in the trilogy, I didn't do pretty much anything to. I know people say it's boring, but how the Chancellor was able to create a war, how Palpatine was able to create a war through Dooku, through the Trade Federation, usurp power through that war, and come out with, replacing the public with the fascist empire. I think, honestly, it was done very well. And I know you might be completely lost, but
I'm just listening at this point because I don't know what's happening at this point in the movies.
All that was done very well. There's just minor changes that I would make to Palpatine's character.
Okay.
But when they first get to Tatooine, they need a part. Watto has that part. And that's how they meet Anakin, because Watto has Anakin and Shmi as his slaves.
Mm-hmm.
They only have Republic credits, which Tatooine people don't accept. So he has to make a bet for it. The bet he makes is Anakin winning the pod race. Anakin wins the pod race, and whatever.
Yeah.
Anakin wins the pod race. He also frees Anakin because the midichlorians, which again, I'm saying, midichlorians, non-existent. I'm not doing them. And
Gotcha.
That's another thing. I don't have a big problem with midichlorians, but I just feel like they could be taken out to lessen the extreme
Soften the blow.
blowback. Yeah.
Yeah.
No midichlorians. He frees Anakin. He can't free Shmi, which is, I already stated it. I'll state it again in case you missed it. Shmi is his mother. Funny name. When you think of Shmi, I think of Captain Hook's first mate, but they take off, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to pause right there because I want to talk about Tatooine.
Okay.
Tatooine, honestly, the first 30 minutes of the movie should take place on Tatooine with little cuts to, I don't have Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. I have Mace Windu and Obi-Wan doing what Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan were doing.
Okay.
Because another thread was Owen, Uncle Owen, and Aunt Peru, who raised Luke Skywalker. Obi-Wan mentions how Owen didn't like that Anakin went off because he thought that he shouldn't get involved and he should just stick around and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So the first 30 minutes are mostly focused on Anakin and Owen as teenagers. Anakin working as a mechanic on starships that come in and out, because that's a job on Tatooine. And Owen helping out with the moisture farm that his father, Anakin's stepfather, runs with Shmi. Okay?
Okay.
In Attack of the Clones, you learn that Shmi was freed because Klet, I believe is his name, buys her from Watto and then frees her so he can marry her.
Wait. This is fuck me. Okay. I just got somebody slave mixed up. Wasn't Leia also sold or a slave?
No. So Leia has a slave Leia costume because in Return of the Jedi, she gets captured by Jabba when she's trying to free Han Solo, and she becomes his slave. Leia was never a slave.
Okay. Heard.
Okay. So up to this point, any questions?
No. That was actually that's what I got lost at. I was like, huh?
Okay. And Anakin's father, deadbeat nobody. I know that's lazy, but it's much better than the Force created him. Okay? That's such a... well, the Force created him. It was also hinted at maybe Darth Plagueis. Darth Plagueis created him because of the whatever. But Anakin's father, you can say he died to the Tusken Raiders or whoever. Not in the picture. Yeah. Shmi marries the stepfather. The point is, they're not slaves. Anakin's a teenager. Okay?
Okay.
And throughout this, I want to emphasize his relationship with Owen being stepbrothers. Okay? And maybe Anakin talks about how he dreams of exploring the stars and even becoming a general of the Republic Army and yada, yada, yada. And Owen is like, dude, we're on Tatooine. You're not getting out of here. All right, we got a farm to run when them two old bastards get too old to run it. All right, what are you talking about, right?
Yeah.
But also, I want to show Anakin being sympathetic and maybe even helping out slaves on the planet, showing the goodness, showing the empathetic side of him, and also making a connection with the slaves of Tatooine and how he cares for them. It'll be important later.
Okay. I figured it would because it sounds like a setup.
Yeah. But Mace Windu and Obi-Wan get the Queen of Naboo. Same thing. They come to Tatooine because they need a part. They land in the hangar that Anakin is at. And he works on their ship. He tries to get the part that they need. And when he sees Padme, I don't want this big like, oh, right? Exchange a look throughout the movie, maybe have a line here and there, but the look is clearly like, oh, Natalie Portman, how you doing? Okay. But they're the same age. There's no weird ass, are you an angel? There's none of that shit, okay?
No 7-year age gap.
But I want Mace Windu and Obi-Wan to both kind of feel there's a presence around Anakin. They don't exactly know the extent of it, but there's an obvious presence around Anakin.
Okay.
He says, they can chill around town, maybe go to, the saloon or whatever while he's working on it. Later, they come around and Anakin says, hey, I can't really get to the part till tomorrow. And also I got to get off work. I got a pod race that I got to go to. And because I know a lot of people, I know the pod race is controversial. The pod race is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like
it's just, it's won by a 7-year-old. It should not be won by a 7-year-old, okay?
Hey, that
And
7-year-old kicks some ass.
In this pod race, I want it to be like him saying, I can't miss it. It's the championship or whatever, right? It's like a NASCAR Cup Series. And even, I want you to put Owen in the race and have it set up that Anakin and Owen have been going back and forth all season, or even maybe Owen has a championship every now and then. Why? Give Owen some lore. Give Owen Lars some lore. You barely know anything about this guy. Okay?
Right.
And he says, goes to the pod race. It goes like, not everybody gets blown up like in the original, but Anakin wins. Him and Owen have a clash. Obi-Wan and Mace are, interested at how well Anakin did. Maybe there was a instance in the race where Anakin's pod was in trouble and he had to be quick on his feet or whatever.
And he just quietly used the Force or something without even realizing it or some shit.
Well, that'll come later. But just something where like his instincts were clearly like up there,
Yeah.
Almost superhuman.
Okay.
So that night, I believe they're called Tusken Raiders. They're called Sand People for a lot of Star Wars.
The Tusken Raiders. Yeah, that's it.
They try to raid the moisture farm that night. Okay.
Okay.
Mace and Obi-Wan are helping out, and Anakin is doing what he can, fending them off. But Shmi gets tossed to the ground and is looking like she is about to be dragged away, while Anakin turns, reaches out, shouts, and they all kind of fly up and slam down or all get shoved away. And Anakin seems like shocked. It's a burst of strong emotion that affected this.
Yeah.
And Obi-Wan and Mace Windu are like...
It's like, oh, okay.
Next day, they say, Anakin, we see, dog. We're giving you this offer. Come to Coruscant. Train with the Jedi. You're a teenager, so you're a little too old. But Mace Windu, not Qui-Gon Jinn, not Obi-Wan, Mace Windu says that he will see to it personally that he is trained to become a Jedi. And Anakin kind of steps back. He's like, hey, whatever. But his mom pushes him, saying like, this is what you always wanted. This is what you always dreamed of. I've always dreamed of it for you, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
Have a little tearful moment between mom and son. Hops in and takes off, right?
Hops in pieces. Okay.
Okay, then there's the whole... I skipped over without reading a fucking second.
You had it in your head. I'm surprised.
A second of my notes. But, yada, 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 yada. And pretty much the last act of the movie is basically the same. Mace stays at the Jedi Temple, though, and it is Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan who go back to Naboo to help out with what's going on there. And Qui-Gon Jinn gets killed by Darth Maul, while Obi-Wan... And a lot of people will probably poke at this and say, like, there's a hole. Why is Qui-Gon Jinn taking Mace Windu's place? And the reason? Because I want Mace Windu training Anakin, and I want Obi-Wan and Darth Maul to still have a rivalry. That's it.
And you did say if you like Star Wars, you're going to have to deal with holes. So there you go.
If you want to, and Mace Windu is still like Yoda's number 2. Basically, the Jedi Council in the movies is represented by Mace Windu and Yoda. I know you have a bunch of the other guys on the council, but that's basically it. And it ends the same way. Funeral for Qui-Gon Jinn. Mace Windu trains Anakin. Any questions?
No.
Okay. I feel like that is a much better setup to you see how strong Anakin's emotions are, especially the fear. And that's what Mace Windu and Obi-Wan see, really. Also, he's a teenager, so there's no weird kid shit. Okay?
Yeah.
And people also could point to, well, when Vader and Obi-Wan first meet each other in A New Hope, Vader says, when I left you, you were the master, but now I am the master, whatever the fuck he says, right?
Mm-hmm.
The issue is, Kenobi has already contradicted that because they fight in Kenobi, and he's not a Padawan, he's Darth Vader in Kenobi. So, it's already been messed with. So me not having Anakin as Obi-Wan's Padawan doesn't really do a lot, okay?
Fair enough.
And also, Obi-Wan is pretty much Anakin's age. Because I want a good friend. He was a good friend. I want that to be emphasized.
Yeah.
Yes. So, anything you want to talk about? Anything before I go to Attack on the Clones?
No.
Okay, this might be a longer episode, but we'll keep it pushing.
Yeah.
So, Attack of the Clones again is my least favorite movie, which might shock you because I don't have a lot that I would change in the movie. I would change Tatooine. I would change some of the things that happened with Dooku, and I would change one thing that happened with the intro. What were you going to say?
It seems like, from what you were saying earlier, it seems like your main issue was the dialogue.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know much about the story, or I don't remember much about the story, but it seems like much doesn't need to change other than just the dialogue and probably some character details.
Yeah. So, to start off Attack on the Clones, Padme gets people try to kill her twice. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And to start off in this movie, I don't want there to be like some 10-year gap between Anakin not seeing Padme. I want there to be a clear relationship they have built. It doesn't have to be romantical. Why did I say it like that?
I'm feeling romanticals.
Yeah, I was about to say, why did I say kiss me on my hot mouth? Why did I say that? That is disgusting, dude.
That's your head, I guess.
But it doesn't have to be romantic, but there's a strong bond of at least like a deep friendship. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now what happens is she tries to get assassinated again, which is a big joke because Darth Sidious, Emperor Palpatine, wants to kill her. So he hires Dooku. Dooku hires Jango Fett. Jango Fett hires a shapeshifter. I don't know the specific classification of their race. Hires a shapeshifter. That shapeshifter uses a droid to drop a poisonous worm in the bedroom of Padme. 6 layers. 6 layers for an assassination. Seems a little convoluted.
But Jango Fett's like an assassin, isn't he?
Jango Fett's a bounty hunter, yeah.
Yeah.
Basically. Whatever. We'll just keep that the same because I'm not even gonna try to unpack that, okay? The only thing I would change is when Obi-Wan and Anakin get a hold of this bounty hunter, Anakin is rougher. Now, in this, you're supposed to question what Anakin's doing, but all he does is tell us where she is. Tell us now! And then the assassin just goes, hey, it was Jango Fett. Or she says it was hit with a poison dart, right?
Mm.
I want Anakin to force choke this assassin with Obi-Wan going, what are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? What is this? All right. And I want Anakin to be basically losing his mind. Okay. And then when the assassin tries to say Jango Fett's name, they get hit with the poison dart. Okay.
Okay.
Just sets up that Anakin still does not have full control of his emotions and will lean into them whenever. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So from that point, Obi-Wan gets sent to go after Jango Fett. Well, Padme gets sent back to Naboo with Anakin as her security guard. Okay?
Okay.
And I'm keeping that the same. Obi-Wan could go on his little quest, which, by the way, we're making him a better detective. Okay? He gets to... Can I really not? It's like one of my. I think it's Kenosha.
Okay.
That's where the clones are being made, right? This whole thing leads him to Kenosha, and he finds out that the clones were made for or under the name of a Jedi who had died a decade earlier. Okay.
Okay.
But they think he is that Jedi. So at first he's like, "Yeah, of course," and then they get him in a room. And they bring up the name again, and he goes, "That he's been dead for 10 years. What are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you blowing the mission like this? What are you doing?"
Let me go into the place where I have the least amount of safety and tell them that I'm not supposed to be here.
Yeah.
Let's just do that, I guess.
But keeping pretty much all of that the same, tweaking some dialogue. Also, when he gets captured by Count Dooku, I want him to show that he's a little more. I'm saying this like you know what happened.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure, when's the last time you saw Attack of the Clones?
I don't remember. It's been over 10 years as far as I can.
Okay, so the whole setup is Count Dooku is the Sith Padawan of Sidious, who is Palpatine. That's Palpatine's Sith name, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The thing about Sith is they always want power, and they always want more power, okay?
Yeah.
Dooku tries to convince Obi-Wan to come to his side by telling him a truth that Darth Sidious is taking over the Senate. Because at this point, Palpatine has been nominated as a emergency. Do you know anything about Rome?
Like the country?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know, so in Rome, before Caesar and before any of these guys, they had a democracy, right? But in war times, they would appoint a dictator to run shit until the war was over. That's basically what happens. Mm-hmm. They appoint Palpatine to run shit until this war is over. And of course, he doesn't step down. He just doesn't.
Why would you? Yeah.
But Dooku tells Obi-Wan that there's a Sith Lord running the Senate. Join him, and they will destroy him, yada, yada, yada. And everybody points to this and points to Dooku's eyes not being yellow in the movie to say Dooku was not a Sith, and actually he was on the good side. No, he wasn't. No, you're an idiot. That's a little much. That's a little much, okay?
Yeah.
But if you remember, in Empire Strikes Back, Darth Vader tries to turn Luke. And Darth Vader tries to turn Luke by saying they will kill the Emperor and rule. Dooku did not want the Sith dead. Dooku wanted to run shit. He just told the truth of Darth Sidious being the Sith Lord that runs the Senate to just have that truth in the gaslighting of Obi-Wan Kenobi to say like, no, I'm on the good side. Promise. I swear. Scout's honor.
Scout's honor.
Right?
Yes, sir.
But keep all that the same. But when that happens, I want Obi-Wan to not be so hostile. I want him to kind of be like, no, I can't. But kind of just think, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But on Tatooine, this is where we get to the death of Anakin's mother. In the movie, Anakin is having nightmares about Shmi. She's in trouble. Need to go help her. He's having these visions, right?
Yeah.
That's what makes him go from Naboo to Tatooine with Padme. Now, in the movie, she gets kidnapped by Sand people. She gets killed by them. And he kills the entire village. Not just the men, but the women and the children. They're animals. And I slaughtered them like animals. I hate them. None of that, okay?
Yeah.
What happens is he still has these nightmares that she's in trouble or there's a danger or whatever. Goes to Tatooine and finds out that Shmi is on the brink of death, but she's on this universe's version of life support.
Okay.
And he gets told that this happened because she was in the market in town and a slave revolt happened. Like a big uprising, this big riot, and she was basically collateral damage. Not, there wasn't angry slaves that attacked her and whatever. Mm-hmm. She was just in the middle of town and all this shit went down. Okay? And the reason I'm doing that is because it takes away the same people, because in later Star Wars things, you're supposed to feel sympathetic or see them as good guys. And you can't really do that if they're the guys who killed Shmi, right?
Yeah.
And also, it makes Anakin have conflicted feelings because he is empathetic because these slaves are not treated properly. He's seen it. He knows why they would do that.
Yeah.
But also it's his mother. You know?
Yeah.
He visits his mother, and basically she has been holding on just to see him because she knew he was coming. Tells, him that she loves him. She's very proud, and, look at the man you're becoming or whatever. Maybe, oh, and you got a beautiful woman with you. That's more of a dad thing to do, I guess, but
yeah.
you get what I'm saying.
Yes.
But she dies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anakin goes back to the farm with her body, buries the body, but when Clet or Owen mentions like how sorry they are or whatever, excuse me, he gets angry and he rises up and he picks them off the ground in a forced chokehold and starts talking about how they couldn't protect her, they were too weak, and how dare you say something. And then Owen tries to stop him, and he grabs Owen in the same, just have them both in the both in the air, choking them slowly, talking about how weak they are and how pathetic they are and how much more powerful he is and how much fear he could feel in them and whatever. And it takes Padme to be like, yo, settle down.
Hold on there now.
And he drops them, but they go to the ship and they get the message to Obi-Wan, or from Obi-Wan, to go to the planet he's on to help him out with whatever. Mm-hmm. But the reason I changed that is because it's not Padme having to get over him slaughtering an entire village and being like, I still love you, Yeah. It's just like, it's a burst of anger. And it also, again, just shows that he's getting more and more arrogant. He can more and more towards the dark side, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And throughout this, you can have him like helping people and showing that there's still good in you, whatever.
Yeah.
But I really want these scenes to be emphasized. Pause. Any questions? Anything you think I can change?
No, I don't really know enough about that movie specifically to have real suggestions on change anyways.
Okay.
So.
I just think this is better. It still has his mother die, he's very whatever too.
I mean, it seems like an important point, so.
It can, deepen the hatred that Owen may have for Anakin, because you almost fucking... you almost murked me and my dad. That's fucked up, dog.
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Rude, I would say. But so from that point, Anakin tries to save Obi-Wan with Padme. They get captured, and there you can point to, on Naboo, still have the scenes where, they're flirting with each other and they're slowly falling for each other, whatever, right? Still have that relationship building to a romantic relationship.
Yeah.
And before they get drug into the Coliseum, I still want them to have, like, if we're going to die, I want to tell you that I love you. Like, I want to be with you. I know it's against the Jedi Code. I know it's against the Senate or whatever. But I love you. I want to be with you. I still want to have that. Mm-hmm. And the only things that I would change out of this is Jango Fett not dying like a bitch. Jango Fett died like a bitch because he stands there while Mace just slices him up, okay? I don't know if it's like it takes 2 Jedi to take him down. Maybe you don't want to do that. But have Mace do a little more than walk towards him and slice him to pieces, okay? Just
fair enough, yeah. Add a fight in there somewhere.
Let me tell you something. The Mandalorian lore is fantastic. If y'all have not watched the Mandalorian show, it's great. Go watch it.
Gotta get season 2 down. I watched season 1, but I never did pick back up for season 2.
But the reason Jango and Boba Fett are remembered as fondly as they are is because they look cool. That's it. Dude,
I already know.
Boba Fett in the original trilogy, you get to see him in action once. And that's he jetpacks to Luke. Luke slices his jetpack and he falls into the Sarlacc pit. So just have him do some shit before he goes out, okay? That's all I ask.
Give us something. You know, it's a cool looking character, and you just give him there for 5 seconds. Like, come on.
But, you know, the Jedi are fighting back. Droid army is overwhelming them, circling them, have all that. But have the... What the fuck am I trying to say? First of all, Anakin, Padme, and Obi-Wan get surrounded by droidicas, which is the droid that rolls up and the force field ball and those guys. Mm-hmm. They get surrounded by them, and in the movie, they stand there for like 5 minutes, not shooting. Why? Because they need to live in the movie, okay? So have the Jedi kill the droidicas before they reach Padme, Anakin, and Obi-Wan, just to make it make more sense, okay?
Yeah, that's fair
There's
enough.
There's no standoff with Dooku with Mace going, it's over, man. It's over. We're here now. No, there's none of that.
Yeah.
But the Jedi get circled, and the clone army does come, and there's this big fight, ending with Padme, Anakin, and Obi-Wan chasing after Dooku. Padme gets knocked out of the ship. Obi-Wan does legitimately everything in his power to keep Anakin from jumping out to go save her. And then, in the movie, Anakin immediately gets tossed out of the fight before Dooku beats Obi-Wan, goes to kill him. Anakin stops him, and then Anakin and Dooku have a fight before Dooku cuts off Anakin's arm, and then Yoda's little ass appears, fights Dooku, and Dooku dips, right?
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I'm going to change about that is I want Anakin to have the same reaction. Obi-Wan's like, hey, all right, we're going to do this, this, and that. Anakin just charges in, right? Same thing happens, but Obi-Wan and Anakin just fight him side by side, and then Anakin gets tossed out. And Obi-Wan is the one that pushes Dooku to have to dip. Yoda doesn't show up, okay?
Yeah.
And the reason is because Obi-Wan, in the prequel trilogy, wins 2 fights. And he's in like 6. He wins 2 fights. He wins against Anakin on Mustafar, and he wins against Grievous. That's it. Okay? Right. So let's have Obi-Wan win some more fights. Same thing, Dooku reports back to Sidious, and the last shot of the movie is not a marriage shot. I'm not having Anakin and Padme get married. There's no point. And they don't have, like, there's the I love you thing, but there isn't a reason for them to get married, right? But it does end with a little, like, they're going to bed. You know what I mean?
Insinuations. I see.
Yes, they're going to bed. So that's Attack on the Clone.
That would make more sense in a quick marriage, but also I don't know what the married or the marriage procedures are.
We can't get into age of consent.
See, because that is a completely different thing.
Is it?
I'm talking about the process in which people get married, and you're talking age of consent. Like, I mean, I'm thinking, like, are they having a wedding? Are they just, like, eloping? Like, that kind of shit.
I mean, they can go hand in hand when you think about it.
Stop.
No! I meant you rolling up a newspaper and just... Stop!
I will overdose you on melatonin. Don't try me.
Just look me in the face. Hey, you remember Full Metal Alchemist? How about I play that clip? How about we insert that into this podcast?
Yeah. I think I have it saved somewhere. I think I lost it, actually.
All right, so Revenge of the Sith. Now, in Revenge of the Sith, it opens with them saving the Chancellor from being kidnapped by Grievous or Dooku or both or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. I honestly, I'm not changing a single thing about that opening. Go watch that opening. It's great. It's a space battle. They get in the ship. They destroy droids or whatever. The ship goes haywire. They have to emergency land it. Whatever, right? Yeah. I wouldn't change anything about almost the first hour of that movie. But I do want, and this is going to be mostly notes, I want Anakin, when he starts having the dreams about Padme that the Chancellor infects him with, okay? Mm-hmm. I want him to confide in Obi-Wan, not Yoda. And I know it would be easy because Yoda is the most wise Jedi and everybody knows that. but that's a personal problem, and I feel like it deepens the friendship of Anakin and Obi-Wan. And also, I want Obi-Wan to kind of know that something's going on between Anakin and Padme. I like it doesn't have to be outwardly said, but he knows. He knows.
A little glance here and there, just like a knowing glance, that is.
Yeah. And I had the thought of having the Jedi Council kind of know, but realize that Anakin's too powerful to get the fuck out of there. And he loves being a Jedi so much that if you do that, I mean, we've seen how he treated, like, it might not be a good thing.
Ooh, yeah.
But Obi-Wan tells him basically the same thing. Like, let go of what you fear to lose. Fear, anger, attachment, not good emotions, because attachment leads to yada yada. Same speech Yoda gives, but in Obi-Wan's words. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, General Grievous is found. They send Obi-Wan to go after him, and Anakin stays here because the Chancellor has appointed him like his guy, right? Mm-hmm. And throughout Attack of the Clones and throughout Revenge of the Sith, you see the mentorship, kind of like you see in the prequels. Anakin respects the Chancellor, and the Chancellor loves Anakin for obvious reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Now, before Obi-Wan takes off, and the scene where Palpatine wants Anakin on the council and kind of forces him into that position, and the council not granting him the rank of master because they don't trust him, and they don't think he's ready, and they don't think he has a hold of his emotions. As we've seen,
fair, yeah.
Keep that the same, okay? And council wants him to spy. Padme wants him to talk to the Chancellor about ending the war. All this stuff is in his head, kind of like conflating him, confusing him, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Before Obi-Wan goes off to Udapu, whatever planet Grievous ended up on, Anakin brings Obi-Wan dinner to say, like, I'm sorry for blowing up. This is a dangerous mission. I should be with you for whatever. And I want this scene to be like 15, 20 minutes of Obi-Wan and Anakin just eating dinner and having a chat. Could talk about the stuff that happened in Attack of the Clones, the stuff that happened between the movies that you can go on to show.
A recap or something?
Not a recap, but like two friends talking shit about the stuff they've been through. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And just showing that they have a strong friendship. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And you can have the like, I'm sorry I've always, I've arrogant and angry and I'm sorry about whatever. And Obi-Wan's like, dude, you're the GOAT, dog. You're Michael Jordan of Jedi. What are you talking about? Have that. Okay.
Okay.
Now that fast forwards and that's happening. And then Anakin, he still gets the talk. He's still, have you ever heard of the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? The whole like Sidious telling Anakin that he could basically save Padme's life, and maybe try to hide it a little more. But I like the idea of like Anakin is so blinded by saving Padme's life that he ignores all the warning signs that Palpatine is the Sith Lord.
Yeah.
But finds out Palpatine is the Sith Lord, thinks about killing him. You could see him like whatever, but he goes back to Mace, tries, turns him in. That whole thing happens. And the only thing I would change is the Emperor doesn't electroshock Mace until he flies out the window. Okay.
Okay.
I want Anakin to slice Mace's arm off, just like he did. And just like you betrayed the Jedi Code, you're a traitor, yada, 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 and force push him out the window. Okay?
Okay.
And then when the Emperor is sitting there like laughing, like, good, Anakin, good. Yeah. Whatever. Yeah. I want Anakin to point it at his throat and say, like, I am not whatever. And I want the Emperor to fear Anakin because The Emperor knows how powerful Anakin can become, and Anakin knows how powerful he can become. So automatically dropping to his knees and, bowing down to this old man that you're more powerful than, it makes no sense. So kind of just swing your dick around and be like, I just did that to a Jedi Master, one of the most powerful Jedi Masters. Yes, I'm with you now, and I appreciate you. But this is my show. This is whatever, right?
This is now my show.
And in canon, Sidious makes Darth Vader's suit limit him. It's painful to wear it. Okay? Did you know that?
No. I thought he wore it because it would have been painful to not wear it.
Yeah. No, it saves his life and it keeps him alive. But Darth Sidious made sure that it hurt to move in certain aspects so that it limits Anakin's power because Sidious knows how powerful he is. And he can keep him subservient. So that also you can add that into like the tragedy of it, of like he can't take over the galaxy because he physically can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
But whatever, goes and kills the younglings. Sure. I want like a half movie on that of him just slaughtering every child at the Jedi Temple. I want a whole 30-minute compilation. I want MLG no scope compilations of him.
Fucking crosshairs on the screen with the little hit markers and
yeah, I want him to grab
plus 200.
Throw a child out the window, pick one up and pin him against the ceiling with every
ultra kill.
Just killing spree.
I saw one thing recently. Side note, I saw one thing recently. It was like an ultra kill, mega kill shit, but it was a woman, and she kept getting more and more orgasmic as it went on.
Okay.
And I think towards the end, it was just like, mega kill, and I was like, oh gosh,
that's nasty. That's nasty.
Now put that over Vader killing the younglings.
A woman? Okay.
Yeah.
This has been a very weird episode. We decided to talk about Star Wars, Age of Consent, and that, whatever.
Yeah, we're going to keep pushing.
But the end of this movie, it pretty much plays out the same. Anakin almost kills Padme before Obi-Wan comes down. Your new empire. My allegiance is to democracy. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That plays out just like it does. The only things that would change is Padme's death is left to a question. It's not some bullshit. She lost the will to live. She just birthed 2 children. She wouldn't lose the will to live. Okay?
Yeah, that's true.
So have it be a question of like, we don't know what's going on. We are trying our absolute best, but we don't know why she's dying, right? Mm-hmm. It could be Sidious is killing her. It could be the injuries that Anakin inflicted were much more serious than the droids think. Mm-hmm. It could be childbirth in general. Leave it to a question, right?
Yeah.
And with Darth Vader finds out, when Sidious tells him that he killed Darth Vader, which he should, Sidious should say, in your enragement, you killed her or whatever. There isn't like him getting up and everything shaking and him going, no! That's weird. That's lame. Okay?
Yeah.
I want Sidious to be knocked back, the droids in the room to be crushed, and everything almost crumbling around him, as I don't know what the vocal reaction would be. I don't know if you want it to be like a Darth Vader scream kind of thing. I don't know if you just want him to drop to his knees or drop to his knees and kind of look at the camera or whatever, but not hands at the sides. No.
I don't think I would have wanted a vocal line for that. If he was going to like be, Vader and powerful as shit, if like, just as you say, like everything, get blown back, crushed or whatever. But I think that would kind of be all I would want.
Right.
I mean,
fair. That's why I've gone back and forth on a vocal, but not, maybe it's just the drop to the knees and look at the camera. And you're like, because honestly, the most effective, the biggest emotion Darth Vader has ever gotten out of me was Jedi Survivor. Okay? Go look up the fight between Seer and Darth Vader when she drops the flaming bookcase on him and he slowly stands up and just looks at her. When I played that, I was like, he's pissed. Oh God, this isn't good. He's mad.
And I think that's the kind of feeling that I would want with that news. Not just pure anger. Of course, there'd be, sadness and whatnot in that, but not like, no, not that.
Yeah. And the movie ends with Padme's funeral and Leia going to Alderaan and Luke going to Tatooine. Bow on top. I think that is how I would have done the prequels.
Yeah.
And that took a lot longer than I thought it would. But Star Wars fans, let me know if that would be a better version of the prequels, or just tell me that, you have dumb ideas. You're shit. If you watch those movies from my description, what would you think? And don't be sweet or whatever.
I'm going to have to rewatch a bunch of things to get that point of view, or to know what exactly you'd be talking about in some of these portions. Yeah. So, we'll see. And
of course, I didn't cover everything. There's still a lot of problems that would exist in the movie, especially on the political side or whatever. But and the biggest challenge is the dialogue. I'm not about to write out a whole script, because I'm not about to write out a whole 6 hours of movie to talk about on this podcast and read through. And dialogue is hard. When I shit on George Lucas for it, it's hard to write, but you get it.
Sure is easy to listen to.
But that was Red Light Homies.
Sure.
We decided to have a little dump on Star Wars. Didn't get into some things that I wanted to get into, but that's all right, because we had a fun little conversation, didn't we?
There may be a part 2 coming, so we can finish this conversation up.
Maybe. Follow us on all the socials. We have an Instagram. We don't have a Twitter, but subscribe on the YouTube channel. Follow the podcast on whatever platform that you may. And on those platforms, leave a rating and leave a 5-star rating. Z, what's a 5-star rating these people can leave?
5 stars because my boy Jack here knows way too much shit about Star Wars, except for the standard issue blaster when the Empire first started. So,
absolutely. And click the crooked arrow, share to whatever, to whoever that you may. But also word of mouth. I'm fucking this up. Word of mouth is very important. See, if someone comes up and says, hey, I want to learn a little bit about Star Wars. I want to see an alternate universe where the prequels might have actually been okay. What do they say?
Well, you head on over to the boys Jackie and Z, where more specifically Jackie will talk you through it all. Talk to you about how he would change the stories up and how they suck as they are.
I'll talk you real good through it.
Yes, sir.
Lastly, if I paid the $50, you'll hear it. If I didn't pay the $50, you won't hear it. But the outro song is provided by my buddy, OG Canvas. I don't know if he wants me to use his real name. OG Canvas. His link will be in the description. This was the homies Jackie and Z.
That's me.
And we'll see y'all next Monday.
Peace out.
Rolling up a little bit of pie. Rolling with some shit that's fine. Fine shit hard on a 9. I'm rubbing on the tabs on the spine. Rolling through in the 8. Wake up, be on the grind. Serving at 6:15. Serving in the 615.